people on the garbage truck. Much respect.
Good yawning this morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. It is Wednesday, the 19th of November, 2025, and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. And I tell you something, every time I hear that song now by Bahamian Trey, I want to be myself, right? Because I want to contribute what it is I have to contribute to this place, right? That's my job, is to contribute myself. And if I'm a healthy, happy person, my contributions will feed into the positive development of the country that I'm in. Dear Bahamas, the same way we made Muggle Like Me go viral, we need to make this song go viral, man. There are teachers everywhere. The same excitement that you found in the hearts of your students when you realize that they like this Muggle Like Me and they know it and they could do the dance, we got to ignite that same fire in them again with this new song by Bahamian Trey. I love it. I love it. Listen, yesterday we had a group of artists on, as well as Captain Mayo from the Salvation Army. The artists were on to promote the Black Box open mic event taking place on Thanksgiving night. And we had in studio Joel Pickstock, he's gospel singer extraordinaire. We had Devontae Strawn, comedian, funny guy. You could catch him at Tuga, among other places. And then we had kind of like our headliner, Bahamian Trey. Now you could catch that replay. That replay is recorded and waiting for you on YouTube if you search Guardian Talk Radio, right, on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, and then search On the Clock with Erin, Greene, Tuesday, the 18th of November, 2025. And the show will be right there for you to listen in. Okay. Let me remind you about the Loyalist Charles Farquharson Will Competition 2025, open to junior and high school students throughout the archipelago. To win the competition, we need two pieces of correct information: the government recording record of Loyalist Charles Farquharson's will, the government recording record of Loyalist Charles Farquharson's will, and the recorded date of Loyalist Charles Farquharson's death. The recorded date of Loyalist Charles Farquharson's death. You call the show, play the game. There are lots of prizes and surprises. Also, continuing a t-shirt and magazine donation. I would like to thank the people who've reached out to me so far, and I will be getting to you shortly. Thank you very, very much. Now, today is International Men's Day, right? Today, 19th of November, is International Men's Day. In the second hour today, I'll be sitting in for Mr. C.A. Newry on Guardian Radio AM. In the second hour today, we have a guest. We're going to be talking about a series of events taking place in New Providence, the inaugural Bahamas Love Garvey grounding. That's Robert Love and Marcus Garvey grounding. And then I got a question for you in the second hour. What more do men want? It's International Men's Day. What more do men want? It's like y'all have everything. Again, that's the second hour. Joining me in the first hour, and we're going to kick off the show in a moment, I have representatives from Equality Bahamas. And we're going to walk through this year's 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign. It's also known as the Global 16 Days of Activism campaign. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. Just another note, the show started just a little late this morning. Can I ask a quick question? Maybe you could respond by text, 422-GR96, that's 422-4796. What is up with the traffic on Shirley Street this morning, on the Eastern Road and Shirley Street this morning? What's happening with the traffic? Now, yesterday morning, I experienced a backlog of traffic, and I realized there's a combination of things going on. First of all, the traffic light system is not optimized for early morning traffic flow, first of all. Second of all, drivers are not optimized for early morning traffic flow. Not optimized at all. And then there are some road works taking place that have resulted in large patches of asphalt being removed from the road. And I realize the drivers are slowing down to navigate these little road hazards. But here's the thing. It's like week 2.5, week 3 of the cutouts in the road. We know where the cutouts in the road are now. And so I realize what's happening is we got a little bit of a passive-aggressive protest going on, like you're mad at the road, so you refuse to drive your car properly. This is a self-defeating protest. It is not going to help any of us. I also realize that, like many of our service providers, many drivers are experiencing intermittent driving, right? Like the signal to their brain drops and they forget that they're actually driving a car and required to move at the pace of traffic in front of them and behind them as well. Yeah. Intermittent driving. I knew it was contagious. I told the service providers that, but they did not believe me. Let's get to our show in studio, well, in the Zoom room. Joining me this morning, I have Alicia Wallace, founder and executive director of Equality Bahamas, and Jessica Russell, therapist based in Grand Bahama. Good morning, ladies. Oh boy. Good morning, ladies. Having a little difficulty there. I'm going to wait for the producer to get the guests lined up for me. In the interim, we're going to go through some of the events taking place this year's 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence was started in 1991 by the Center for Women's Global Leadership and runs from November 25 to December 10th. This year, the local organization Equality Bahamas is focused on reclaiming our rights. Again, I'm just waiting for my guests to come in. 1 second. So we're going to go through the calendar, and I'm going to tell you where you can find the calendar of events. You're going to go to this web address. It is lu, that's lu.ma/16 days 25. That's lu.ma/16 days 25. And you're just waiting, producer, to open the Zoom room for me. The first event on this year's calendar is Reclaiming Memory with the Bahamas National Reparations Committee. Reclaiming Memory, and that's on Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025. Good morning in the Zoom room. We're almost there. Okay, let's go to that event is going to be hosted via Zoom at 6 p.m., Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025. And you can register. When you go to that website address that I listed, you can register for each event individually at that site. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Is Miss Russell joining us from Grand Bahama?
She will be. Yes, she's here.
Okay, awesome. Good morning, Miss Russell. All right, we know that she's here. Okay, I started getting into the calendar of events for the 16 Days of Activism, but now that you're here, remind us what Equality Bahamas is, why Equality Bahamas operates or hosts its own 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign, and what do we have on the schedule for this year?
Absolutely. Equality Bahamas is a feminist organization that promotes women's and LGBTQI plus people's rights as human rights. And we do that through advocacy, public education, community engagement, and a more recent addition is research. And we have been running an event series during the Global 16 Days campaign for the past few years, at least since 2019, and doing so even more since we got connected with the Feminist Alliance for Rights, which was operating out of the Center for Women's Global Leadership at Rutgers University. And it is not operating in the same way that it was anymore since the Center for Women's Global Leadership is no longer there. But we do like to highlight that this campaign does not come from some institution, really. It started with activists that were attending a training. And based on all of their learnings and their engagement with one another and all that they learned, they really wanted to be able to continue the work that they started through the fellowship that they were a part of. And that's where the 16 Days campaign came from. And they were very strategic about choosing these dates. They wanted to start the campaign on November 25th, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and close it on Human Rights Day, which is December 10th. And we really, at Equality Bahamas, we enjoy this campaign so much because it is global, because there are so many events going on, and it gives us the opportunity to engage with experts and practitioners, activists and advocates all over the world, bringing them to us in the Bahamas and across the region through the virtual space, particularly after the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, shifting a lot of the events during this campaign to virtual, making it possible for people to attend from anywhere, especially including folks from the Family Islands.
Okay. All right. So I want us to get into the calendar of events, but I also have sort of in my hand a series of headlines, at the very least, and snippets from articles. Because often people ask, like, I ask, what is it that y'all really want? Because we don't see the validity in your argument that women are disproportionately subject or victims of violence, right, over men. And so I have a series of headlines in my hand to share with the audience at some point in the discussion. But let's get to the calendar of events, because it is an exciting 2 weeks of activities.
Absolutely. All of our events are available for sign up right now at Luma, LUMA.com/16days25. And they start on Wednesday, November 26th, with a conversation we'll be having with Nyambi Hall Campbell Dean, PhD, who is the chair of the Bahamas National Reparations Committee. And we will be speaking with her about reclaiming memory. So we'll talk about history, the way that it is recorded, the way that it is taught in schools, the way that we use it in our everyday lives and in making decisions and charting the path forward, and ways that certain parts of our history might be uncomfortable. There's some of it that we don't want to think about and that we don't want to remember. And the idea for this event really started with the Future of Democracy conference, where there was a discussion happening on the last day about this idea of forgetting. And just having a conversation on the sidelines with Nyambi Hall Campbell Dean, we thought it would be great to integrate this into our conversations during the Global 16 Days campaign, because we know that a lot of what we are dealing with today, the struggles with patriarchy and misogyny and gender inequality, are historical. They didn't just happen. They are rooted in systems of colonialism. They go back to slavery. A lot of the violence that we're experiencing is mirroring what was happening during the transatlantic slave trade and during slavery on plantations in the Bahamas and throughout the region. So we are going to be making connections between our history, our memory, and our forgetting, and human rights in that conversation. That's just the start to our event series.
Listen, I'm so excited about that. And imagine, like, I was at the last day of the event, and I think I was at almost every session, but unconsciously, I also have begun conversations about memory. Memory as a weapon and the importance of the press, right? Because the press, the media, that's our collective memory, right? That's the space where we collectively hold our memories, and how memory can be used as a weapon against us, right? If we don't create space effective, right? Sufficient and effective space to hold memory. And so it's wonderful to see these things happening kind of simultaneously, emanating from the same garden. So that's Reclaiming Memory with the Bahamas National Reparations Committee, Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025, 6 p.m. via Zoom. And then the next day, Thursday, the 27th of November.
We have a screening of Two-Faced, Gender Inequality in the Bahamas. And this is a Gina Rogers-Seeley film that looks at gender inequality in the Bahamas in a really interesting way, because it shares the stories of survivors of various forms of violence, not only interpersonal violence, but also structural violence. So hearing directly from women who are impacted by incest, by domestic and intimate partner violence, as well as by structural violence through our laws. So the inability to pass on Bahamian citizenship to children when married to a non-Bahamian and giving birth outside of the Bahamas. And that is sort of put in parallel with commentary from activists and advocates and experts in the field who are giving their take on what is happening, and also making connections between the work toward gender equality at the national level and the international human rights standards and the mechanisms that the Bahamas has signed on to and has yet to come into compliance with. It's a very interesting documentary. There's a lot of information being shared there. And the stories from the survivors make a huge difference. It brings so much value to the documentary.
I think the composition of the voices bring the advocacy together, right? Like, you see, it's not right. You can see the personal experience with those who have worked in the field, along with the statistics that have been documented. Now, Thursday, the 27th of November, this screening, is this the same screening that UB is organizing as well, with the panel discussion, or is this a second opportunity to see the documentary?
So the screening that is happening at UB is actually this evening.
Oh, tonight.
6 p.m.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you for the reminder.
And it will be a portion of the documentary. It won't be the whole thing. I think it will be about 20 minutes, because they want to have a lot of time for discussion. Next week, it will be the full documentary that we're showing in the amphitheater at the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, Thursday, November 27th at 6 p.m.
All right, that's awesome. 2 opportunities to see it over the coming days. But again, tonight at the University of the Bahamas, there will be excerpts of the film played along with a panel discussion that starts, I think, at 6 p.m.?
6 p.m., yes.
Over at UB. That's, I think, an awesome event. Okay, next on the calendar, we have Reclaiming Power. All We Want Is Everything with Soraya Chemale, Tuesday the 2nd.
Chemale, yes.
Chemale.
Soraya is a friend of Equality Bahamas. She has joined us before. Last year, we talked about her book, Resilience is a Myth. And I think we talked about that a bit on your show as well last year. And this year, because she is a writer who is really writing, she's a powerhouse, she has a new book that is out now. She's actually doing a book tour. And this book looks at misogyny in a very systematic way, and male supremacy, I think is the way that she terms it. And we will be talking about her book, what's in there, what has driven her to write this, and how we see these theories that we talk about, that we write about, that are researched, how do we see them playing out in everyday life, and what are the actions that we need to take to change this?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In that moment, I was thinking about the ways in which women also perpetuate misogyny, and the ways in which women will shore up male supremacy They will create great proximity, right? So they will get as close to male supremacy as possible to empower themselves and to protect themselves from violence, but perpetuate the same male supremacy because they found a safe place within it to wield their own power.
We do what we can to survive and to not be the person who's at the bottom. So you try to get proximity to the people who are in positions of power and try to, by proxy, have access to some of that power.
Yep, I hope that we could talk more and more about it. All right, and that session is via Zoom also. Again, you can go to this website. I'm going to read it off right now to see the full list of events and to register for individual events. So the address is lu.ma/16 days 25. That's lu.ma/16 days 25. Okay, so now let's run through it a bit more quickly. Reclaiming Recovery, People-Centered Disaster Preparedness with Yemi Knight and Kendria Ferguson. That's Wednesday, the 3rd of December, 2025, or 6 p.m., NAGB. What do I need to bring with me to this session?
To the NAGB, you really don't need much to come and join us at the NAGB except curiosity about this topic, about recovery, the ways that we have been doing it, but the ways that experts are seeing our recovery efforts need to change. And I don't know, maybe Jessica could speak a little bit more to this because she was able to identify an expert in Barbados who will be joining us.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Russell.
Hi, pardon my tardiness. I was in the waiting room. Yemi Knight is our expert from Barbados. They actually co-authored a study on this exact topic with a focus in the Caribbean. So we thought they were a good choice for this. People-centered, meaning we're focusing on the needs of the people, particularly those in vulnerable communities who tend to, for lack of a better word, be forgotten in this process. So the elderly,
people with
disabled
disabilities.
People. Right. So
I was going to say people with disabilities, including people with medical conditions that render them disabled, but they're hidden, right? You don't really see them or the impact on their lives.
Right.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Reclaiming.
And just to say, Erin, this conversation is really important for us to have at this time because the hurricane season is coming to a close, but Jamaica is still struggling, trying to recover after Hurricane Melissa, and it's going to be a very long road for them, similar to the road that it's been for us since 2019 with Hurricane Dorian. And they really need our support. And we're seeing from the reports of people who are on the ground and offering assistance that the old ways aren't working anymore, or even if they ever did work, right? We're recognizing that there are different ways that we need to do this. It doesn't mean that we are getting ramen by the pallet and handing it out. We have to be thinking about people's nutrition. We have to be thinking about what people have access to in order to make use of the items that we're distributing, and also thinking about dignity and choice. It's not a matter of people just should accept whatever we give them. I can't do anything with baby food if I don't have a baby. So really thinking about people, their specific needs, and what it looks like to reach people who are in different parts of the country. We know the terrain of Jamaica, and it's quite difficult to get from one part to the next, particularly right now. And then the cost that's involved because there are tolls. So there's a lot to talk about there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our next event on Thursday, the 4th of December, via Zoom, Tiny Movements, virtual film screening and discussion. What's that about?
This is a really interesting film. It's quite short, and it is by Jen Greene and Laura Sweeney. Jen experienced marital rape. And this documentary is the story of how she found out that this was happening to her because she was being drugged, and the ways that she found to take her body back, take her life back, and make use of the law and the systems that were available to her to see herself to a safe place and to accompany her children as well to a safe place. So she's using dance to take her body back and to connect with people and to share her story. And she did this kind of bit by bit on Instagram. She committed to doing a dance in her kitchen every day. And she held true to that commitment. And I watched it as it happened. And I kind of watched as she made the steps to create this documentary. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. She and Laura will be joining us. So we'll be able to have a conversation with her about what happened to her, the decisions that she made, and what she is hoping that this documentary will do. But they are taking it all over and it's winning awards. And yeah, just really looking forward to the conversation that we can have with Jen.
Absolutely. I like that it's being hosted via Zoom, right? Because it provides the connection of community to watch such a sort of heavy documentary, but it also allows a kind of anonymity, right? So I could be at home, I could be vulnerable, I could take off layers, knowing that I'm with a group of like-minded people, but I'm also still safe within my home if I feel to withdraw, right? I like the formatting of the event. So I want to walk quickly through the rest of the schedule. Reclaiming Stories and Erasure Poetry Workshop with Sonia Farmer at Ponciana Paper Press, Saturday, the 6th of December. Saturday is a full day of events, starting at 9:30 a.m. with the Erasure Poetry Workshop. Listen, guys, I don't want to let the cat out the bag, but this is definitely a workshop to take advantage of. You don't want to miss an opportunity to explore, I can call it arts and craft, in the Ponciana Paper Press. At 12 noon that same day, via Zoom, there's a session Reclaiming the Workplace with Suman Sorav and Keisha Ellis.
That's right.
At noon. And then on Saturday at 2 p.m., Reclaiming Faith. Now, there was no description for that event. It's via Zoom. Give me a quick sense of what we're going to be doing at 2 p.m. on Saturday the 6th.
We will be talking about faith and how it works in our lives and the difference between being a person of faith and holding to fundamentalist ideas and weaponizing interpretations of scripture, of text against other people. Mm-hmm. And for this conversation, we'll be engaging with people who are people of faith, different faiths, and still find a way to support human rights because their interpretation of a Christianity or whatever their faith may be is not one that is oppressive or that is meant to control people's lives.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful opportunity. I can't wait to see how the event is formatted, right, and how it unfolds. On these next days, Sunday, the 7th of December, we have Reclaiming Textiles, a paper-making workshop with Sonia Farmer. Like just another, let me just say to the audience, another wonderful opportunity. If you can get there, don't miss out. And then on Tuesday, the 9th of December, Reclaiming Health with Dr. Indira Martin.
Yes, yes. And just before we move on to that, I just want to say that we are always so excited when we have events at Poinciana Paper Press because of the opportunity to be creative and seeing the transformation from people walk in kind of nervous, not really understanding what we're doing, and walking away with a new skill set. And it's just important for people to know for the Reclaiming Textile event, we encourage you to bring in some kind of fabric and something that you want to reclaim. So it might be the socks that you were wearing when you got some bad news. It could be the dress that you wore when you experienced some form of violence. So something that you want to reclaim, bring it in, and we will go through a whole process of turning that item into paper.
I guess
and give it a different existence in the world.
Right. It could also be like maybe an item of clothing from a lost loved one that you were unable to reconcile with before they passed. stuff like that as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Anything that you want to reclaim, you're going to turn it into something else entirely.
All right. Now, just before we go to the break, the last session on the 16 Days of Global Activism calendar is Reclaiming Human Rights with Gaynell Curry, Wednesday, the 10th of December on International Human Rights Day.
Yes, and a lot of these events are connected. And I think that the conversation with Gaynell Curry is really going to pull together, bring together, weave together a lot of the threads that are connecting over the course of the 16 days. So we start off with Nyambi Hall Campbell Dean talking about memory, taking us back, thinking about history and how we chart the path forward. We make our way to the conversation with Dr. Indira Martin about our health and about the epigenetic effects of slavery and of other things that happen to us that actually alter our genes and change our health and the connection between our brain and our gut. And then we come to this conversation with Gaynell Curry about human rights. And Gaynell Curry, of course, has tremendous expertise, having worked at the United Nations for decades and is now an independent expert member of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent and is teaching in the law faculty at the University of the Bahamas. And it's really always such a pleasure and such a gift to have her with us to talk about human rights, and what she often talks about with us is building a culture of human rights. So recognizing that we're not just talking about this right over here, that right over there, but connecting it with who we are, what we need, and how we see ourselves moving forward as a people, as a country, as a nation.
Absolutely. Okay, so Ms. Wallace, Ms. Russell, I'm going to let the producer take us to a break. When we get back from the break, I'm going to read some of these headlines. The theme for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And then I guess before you end the show, it's now become a tradition, and I'd like to honor the tradition. I have to ask y'all, women them, what more y'all want? Mind you, today is International Men's Day, and I'm going to ask the men the same thing because gender equality, right? So you guys, sometimes it's hard to hold on, but I begging you, hold on just a little while, at least to the other side of this break. You're on the clock with Erin Greene. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Over there, we gotta fight to survive. At the same time, trying to keep us in mind. World's so caught, but I can't sweat up. Think copy thoughts, it'll get better. Whether it be bad or good, gotta give God thanks. And I walk with the faith, so I don't think twice. Bigger to the nurse and the bus driver.
Wait, you know what's going down tomorrow?
Nobody, what happening?
Joe bringing these knives to school. He could do Junior in.
For what?
But he fooled with Joe girl.
Mother sick. And you know Junior don't back down for nothing. So that means you got a big fight tomorrow.
So whose side you on?
Side? I trying to stay in school, not Simpson Pen. We gotta tell somebody about this fight.
Tell somebody. I ain't no snitch. I mean cool, you know.
Wait, if you so cool, then you need to stay in school and stay out of the fight.
Yeah, but if I don't hang on Joe's side, him and these boys coming for me next.
Alright, so we definitely gotta tell somebody. We gotta prevent the fight.
What I say, I don't want nobody call me snitch.
We could just call Crime Stoppers. You could report what you know, and nobody gotta know it's you.
So how did I avoid?
All you gotta do is call them, or you text them through the Crack Crime Bahamas app, and nobody can know it's you.
Then the police come looking for me for more info, and when they finish with them, Joe them coming looking for me?
When you call Crime Stoppers, the calls go directly to Miami, and they don't ask nothing about you. Then you can get the pen from them, and they can claim a reward later using that same pen.
Plus, everything's scrambled, so nobody can read what you're saying.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
This holiday season, give yourself the gift of a fresh start with a personal loan at Fidelity. You could win refreshing prizes like a luxurious spa day, John Boat gift certificates, a cruise for two, and more. Make that move to a fresh start today. Call 356-7764. Promotion ends December 19th.
Fidelity, we're good for you. Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
At Cleveland Clinic, you set your course, not cancer. So when your journey takes an unexpected turn, you seek out the experts who've conquered it before, and you forge new paths to help fight cancers. For every route to a cure, for every care in the world. See how we're innovating cancer care at Cleveland Clinic today.
1 in every 4 Bahamians face some level of food insecurity. AML Foods remains committed to helping, and this year, through our Feed 5,000 program, we'll donate $50,000 to provide holiday meals for families in need. But we need your help. From November 3rd to December 17th, show your support and donate at the register at Solomon's, Cost Right, Fresh Markets, Eleuthera Markets, Exuma Markets, or Domino's Pizza in New Providence, Grand Bahama, or Exuma. Together, let's put an end to hunger.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM.
Going is get tough, but there ain't no one day the tough can get going. I know you can do it, you know. You know you can do it, but you just gotta hold on. Thank God for life, this is a sunshiny day. Then go get to the money. I got no time, no waste, cause it be hard to hold on, hard to hold on, hard to hold on.
Welcome back to On the Clock with Erin Greene. We've got Equality Bahamas in the house with us. Miss Wallace, you hear that song? You know, when I said, you know, I want to explore the ways in which women perpetuate misogyny as well, and you reminded us that sometimes people engage in strategies for survival, and those strategies may actually be perpetuating violence, but they got to figure something out, right? They got to figure something out to elevate themselves and survive. And I just think the song by Bahamian Trade, man, this is it happened when it was needed, because we have to acknowledge for each other that it's hard to hold on, man. And people are trying and they're struggling. And when better systems present themselves, people often cling to those better systems.
As we should.
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left in the show. The theme for this year's International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which is the 25th of November, is Unite to End Digital Violence Against All Women and Girls. Is Equality Bahamas doing anything specific on the 25th?
We are not doing anything in particular on the 25th, but the theme is very interesting because it really points to what we're seeing right now, which is an increase in what we're calling technology-facilitated gender-based violence. So, you know, a lot of talk about deep fakes, for example, which is an escalation of the quote-unquote revenge porn and things like that.
Okay.
Yes. So there's an increase in this form of violence that is using technology in very harmful, violent ways.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of something that's a little like we almost see it as harmless, but it is actually that okay. Like when you do it once, we just perceive it as harmless, but when a woman experiences it constantly, right, it becomes violent. So it's the slide into the DM vibe, right? Where a woman could just, her various inboxes on social media platforms are just inundated with men engaging them. And it starts off easy, like how you doing? And then the next thing, it's a dirty picture, right?
Right.
Or, you know, it's, hey, it's nice to meet you. Do you want to come over to my house? And the woman is like, it's 3 a.m. in the morning and we haven't actually met yet. Please stop. And so one time, one person does it and they think to themselves, and women do it too, to men and to women. They think, I just saying good morning. I just saying grand rising empresses, but the constant inundation of these messages becomes an act of violence.
It does, and we always talk about the cumulative effect of experiencing this kind of thing over and over again. So a lot of people are complaining about this kind of thing happening on dating apps. for example. And people say, well, what are you on the dating app for if you don't want XYZ? Well, I'm on the dating app to explore the options and maybe go on some dates, but not to receive unsolicited photos or dirty messages and things like that. But it becomes exhausting and actually change your brain. And Jessica could speak more to this. What happens when women are constantly experiencing this, when we're entering a situation thinking that it's going to be a normal conversation?
Ms. Russell?
I was actually going to bring that up when it came to children witnessing intimate partner violence as well. So yes, it's that slow trickle, that continuous exposure to violence, even if we deem it as not necessarily extreme, it's that continuous exposure that ultimately it's the same result. So when we talk about intimate partner violence as well, and then the impact on children, merely witnessing the violence has the same effect. It traumatizes them in the same way as if they experienced the violence directly. And if you don't care about grown-up women, maybe that is the sort of thing that will get you to care about how it impacts the children. I would encourage anybody to look up adverse childhood experiences, so ACEs. A certain number of ACEs, one of which being witnessing violence, not just experiencing, witnessing it. A certain number of ACEs shows or can indicate a direct correlation to even physical illnesses, let alone other sort of reactions that could indicate emotional trauma. It can absolutely lead to physical ailments, heart disease, all of those fun things.
That children shouldn't be experiencing, yeah.
Right. And so as much as people sort of minimize certain types of violence because they're not, quote unquote, severe, the impact is often still very much the same.
Absolutely. And then as you were talking, Ms. Russell, I was thinking about digital violence and the trickle-down effect or the accumulative effect, right? And how are we locally doing studies on the impact of early exposure to explicit content, media, and violent content and media, right? And the extent to which we have desensitized ourselves to violence through the inundation of explicit content through the media.
Locally, I don't believe so, but that desensitization, there is an impact in terms of future commission of violent acts, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if there are studies being done locally, yeah.
Well, I'm hoping
international.
I think the Bahamas Journal of Studies, I'm not getting the name correct, but they just had a recent publication of research papers. And for anyone that's interested, you can go online, search UB Journal recent release, and links should come up. For a moment, ladies.
International Journal of Bahamian Studies.
There you go, International Journal of Bahamian Studies. Producer, let's go to the phone line. Ladies, we got a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Ms. Greene. Guess how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the problem is, right, in the Bahamas and in the world itself, right, certain violence has actually become normalized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One, online bullying, that was actually normalized by throwing comments, right?
Okay.
A second thing, right, if your parents grew you up, what the saying is, if someone hit you, hit them back.
Mm-hmm.
That was normalized from back in the day. We didn't start that. We didn't make that up, but we made it normal.
I got you.
So my point is certain violence is actually normalized.
Yeah, and not normalized in the current generation, right? Normalized for decades. Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Okay, so I wanted to read some of these headlines. And to my audience, some of these headlines are very heavy, but they speak to what's happening in our community and why organizations like Equality Bahamas exist as advocacy groups, right? And policy groups, right? Not just providing support for constituents in communities, but also advocating on their behalf at the state level and at the international level for strategies and solutions to systemic violence as well as interpersonal or, violence experienced at the individual level. So one of the headlines is brother sentenced to 7 years for raping sister. That's in the Nassau Guardian, the 6th of October, 2025. And I thought about it because sometimes violence is normalized, right? And we have no idea that our kids are actually, young people are actually picking it up in our communities or in our homes because we don't address violence when it occurs and name it as violence. Another headline, man convicted of molesting his 10-year-old step-niece. Man convicted of indecent assault of daughter. Man convicted of indecent assault of boy. 10 years plea deal for rapist stepdad. Then we have a man sentenced to 20 years for killing girlfriend, 2nd of April 2025 in the Nassau Guardian. This story is a heavy story. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I'm just going to remind us of the headline. Man sentenced to 20 years for killing girlfriend. Outrage over appalling outcome in elderly woman's rape trial. This is the case, the trial of the man that assaulted. By assaulted, I mean rape. An 83-year-old woman, right? And so some of these headlines represent the experiences that Equality Bahamas focuses on, right? To create policy solutions and to advocate for better solutions for people experiencing these forms of violence. Good morning, ladies. Ms. Wallace, Ms. Russell?
Ms. Wallace was dropped from the call, but I'm here.
There you go, Ms. Russell. We're at the end of our hour. Thank you for joining us from Grand Bahama, right? It's so wonderful to be able to connect to advocates throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I look forward to the 16 Days of Global Activism campaign, Equality Bahamas. And I didn't get the chance to ask y'all what more y'all women want. But trust, I believe in gender equality, so I got asked the man them the same question on this International Men's Day. What more y'all men's them want, man? Thank you, Equality Bahamas. Thank you, audience. You guys stay tuned. Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
From a place where they say bush crap, my God, but kick dogs running through the corner. Over there, we gotta fight to survive. At the same time, trying to keep us in mind. World so cold, but I can't sweat up. Think copy thoughts, it'll get better.